Okay, hello everyone. Hello. Welcome. We are here. We're having a little bit technical difficulty, so I'm going to ask everyone if we could mute your mics until we come to you to speak. See if that would help us. I don't know if you can on your end mute until your call because that helps. That's what I was just told in my ear. Yes, that helps. Okay, so today we are here with our first webinar about relationships. I always talk about know the type of person you're dating. Not only know the person you're dating, but the type of person that you're dating. So today we have with us expert Lisa Rama,
Romano.
and
Yep.
she Romano, Romano, and she's here to talk to us about all the things that she sees. So I'm going to start off by reading her bio and tell you a little bit more about her. Lisa Romano is a certified life coach, best-selling author, and a YouTube video vlogger, specializing in codependency and narcissistic abuse recovery. She's also one of the most listened to meditation teachers on the world's largest meditation app, Insight Timer. Lisa created real life tools to help people evolve past their traumas so that they can live in peace, achieve success, and create harmony in their lives, regardless of the painful past events. Her 12-week breakthrough coaching program has helped thousands of people to learn to regulate their emotions, heal from painful past, including negative self-talk and limited beliefs. Adult children of alcoholism, those who are raised by narcissistic parents, are learning to find themselves way back to love, find themselves back to love that they were denied as a child through Lisa's transformation work. To learn more, you can go and visit her at www.lisaromano, I don't know why I want to say Romano.com. Thank you, Lisa, for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you so much.
Yes. It has been a whirl of since I said that I was going to host this webinar, just a host of people who said they are living with a narcissist or have been in relationships with a narcissist. So I'm going to go ahead after you give a little bit about narcissists and the type of narcissist that may be in different relationships, because I know it's not just one type of narcissist, right?
Yeah, you can have people generally think about narcissists as like overt narcissists. They're grandiose, they're braggadocious. They obviously devalue people and think they're better than other people. They always think they're right. They throw their opinion around. They just generally think that they're more superior, more intellectually superior than other people, more beautiful than other people, just more important than other people. And that might be easy to spot. However, when we're dealing with a covert narcissist, it's much more difficult. You can deal with a vulnerable, shy narcissist that is working off of your empathy, that exploits your emotions, that doesn't want to get better, has no intentions of getting better, and just wants to offer you a sob story day in and day out, and tries to get you really to become their source of everything, their source of, if they need money, they come to you. They need a place to live, they come to you. They need someone to get them out of jail, they come to you. But there's a sob story involved. And you're being, on both ends of the spectrum, you're being manipulated emotionally, but they appear differently in real life.
Oh, ah, that's almost exactly what I've been hearing. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first other two guests to you so that you can listen to their stories and you can tell them some of the ways that you spot some of this.
Sure.
Okay, first we have Maxine Scott. Maxine has been an Army soldier for the past 22 years and is currently stationed at Fort Jackson in South Carolina. She's also a licensed realtor in Columbia, South Carolina, and has been for the past 10 years. She graduated from Auxiliary College with her bachelor. My tongue is not matching today. With her BA degree in professional and management. She also holds a certificate and certified in entrepreneurship. Maxine is an avid runner and participates in several half marathons throughout the year and support various causes such as breast cancer awareness, domestic violence, diabetes, and Army 10 Matter. She loves #bling, aka race medals. And she believes wholeheartedly in preserving one's health through proper eating and exercises. And Maxine's diagnosed with HER2 positive breast cancer in 2012. She endured many treatments and surgery and trips to the doctor during her fight for breast cancer. Although she is in remission, the battle was won, but the war is still has not been easy. Through it all, she continues to fight like a girl, and she is a warrior. Maxine, welcome, welcome, welcome. And we have Mr. Brandon Wilson. Brandon is a dynamic host, motivation speaker, a leader, and passion is for the community. He was born in Columbia, South Carolina. Brandon developed his love for television at the early age from his grandfather, Thomas Mackey, who was a successful entrepreneur and a family historian with a camera of his own. Brandon dedicates his journalism and producing and reporting, which cultivate his prestigious Black Ivy League institution, Hampton University in Virginia. Upon graduating, Brandon returned to the great state of South Carolina, where he climbed the ladder in his ranks in the field of television and radio broadcasting. One of his greatest achievements was being promoted to executive producer during the early years of his long tenure with WIS-TV, NBC in Columbia. Brandon sat as him in a major breakthrough news coverage, including the Charleston shooting. So we want to say thank you to Brandon and welcome to the show. All righty, let's get started here. Thank you, Brandon. So let's start off with you, Maxine. You would, I guess we're echoing again here. Let me try to see if I can turn that down a little bit. Okay, Maxine, can you tell us a little bit about your relationship and some of the characteristics that you were able to see?
Okay, you want the long story or the short version?
Let's get the big point here. So let's do that.
Okay, so I'll try to condense it a bit. But it's crazy because the last relationship that I had, it actually didn't last too long, needless to say. But so how I ended up coming across this guy is he ended up working in one of the buildings that I work out of on Fort Jackson. And my thing is I don't like to date, where I work at. But his boss kept saying, Maxine, Miss Scott, he's a great guy, and, you ought to let him take you out, and, you seem like a nice young lady, and all of this and that. They were after me for probably about 4 months before I said, you know what, okay, fine, whatever, I'm bored, let's go, So I let him take me out. I let him take me out, and actually, I was going to cancel. But I said, you know what, let me just go ahead and go. So he took me out. First day, it actually went better than what I thought. We had good conversation. just, great conversation. It just really went better than what I thought. So of course, I accepted a second date, and next thing you know, those dates ended up turning into a proposal, and oh Lord, ended up
How
getting
long
married.
ago before the proposal came in? Usually I read something about they're quick to claim. How long was it before your proposal came into action?
Okay, so during this dating phase, we talked about goals. We talked about deal breakers. We pretty much laid everything out on the table, because I'm over 40. He was close to over 40, and it's like, we're going to do this or we're not going to do it, So the proposal actually came probably about 6 weeks after the first date.
Wow, that is fast.
Yeah.
That is fast.
Yeah. And in hindsight, I should have known something was up, because this guy, he dresses well, he got to have his waves going, he does a lot of primping and prepping before he goes to work. And, he used to drive the nice little white Mercedes, and claim he had all of this money, and, was going to talk about, or he was talking about doing businesses, it just seemed like he had his stuff together, but when it came to the proposal part, so my mom and my stepdad were in town. He ended up meeting them, and then my mom and my stepdad were supposed to leave and go back to Florida. Next thing you know, he calls me. He's like, I need to talk to you right now. I'm like, well, what's going on? I'm thinking it's an emergency, right? Well, he's like, well, where are you guys at? I said, we're at Party City. So he said, okay, I'm going to come to Party City. And I'm like, but ain't you at work? Not, yeah, it's fine. I'm just going to come. So he shows up, gets down on one knee in the parking lot of Party City. So, I should have known something was up, because, from the way he carried himself, and then you're going to do a proposal in a parking lot at Party City on Two Notch or Decker, and in hindsight.
Okay, technology. Wow. You guys, I apologize about that, but of course, technology, it comes in and out. And of course, we're doing this new Facebook meeting group, and it just went off and locked everybody out of the room. So we had to start over again. So we're going to go back with Maxine. You were you finished with your story, or just about? To remember where you left off?
Yeah, I had to remember where I left off at. And Chandra, can you also tag me in this? Can you also tag me in this?
Yes, I'll tell them to go ahead and tag everybody in this. Can y'all do that? Y'all hear me right? Okay, yeah, they got you. They got you.
Okay, so yeah, where I left off at, the proposal came about 6 weeks after. We had talked about, getting married and, things like that before, dating with a purpose, so-called. Fast forward to the wedding. Everything was fine up until then. He still was respectful. He didn't call me out my name. He put me on a pedestal. He would post on Facebook, my queen this and my queen that, and she's so awesome and so wonderful and so great. And I'm like, finally, yes, somebody that can do for me like I do for everybody else, because I'm used to doing stuff for other folks. So fast forward to the wedding, got married. Probably about a month after, that's when stuff just started changing. His attitude would change. He would be very moody. He would come in from work like somebody pissed in his grits, and I'm like, why do you let people at work, mess with you, and then you come home and take it out on me? And I'm like, I didn't sign up for that. What else was it? We got into like little tiny arguments that would just blow up, and then I noticed a change when one day we were arguing about something, can't remember what it was, and next thing you know, he called me a bitch. I said, hold up now. You can just imagine, I do believe, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I went off on him, because I'm like, you didn't start off doing that. We're not about to start that now. you know, so that was the one and only time that happened. But then there was another time that we were, you know, arguing about something small, and it blew up. And next thing you know, he's following me, and he slams his hand down on the island. And he's like, "Well, you will comply." And I had to look at him like me, like who you talking to, you know? And I really had to look at him, because at first I thought he was joking, but when I looked in his face, I'm like, he don't look like he's joking. So, you know, of course I had to go off again. It's like, dude, no, we don't do stuff like that, you know. And it was just.
So Lisa, with listening to Maxine's story, what can you tell from this? Is this the normal reaction of a narcissist?
Yeah, it has a lot of the telltale signs. It's a fast-tracking emotional intimacy. There's future faking, talking about your future, how great it's going to be.
Right.
There's also him being very dramatic and over the top in front of your parents, trying to love bomb your parents. I think that was the beginning of triangulation, actually. So what a narcissist does is they try to get your friends, your family to think that they're awesome. So now in the event that your relationship starts to crumble, they already have this amazing image of him in their head. So it can't be him, it has to be you. So he's already setting the stage for, look, mom and dad, I'm awesome. Right? Look how great I am. Look how I'm treating your daughter. Look how it's all a show. Look how I treat her on Facebook. See how great I am? So now if she goes back and she tells you that I'm some monster, you know she's crazy, right? Because what happens behind closed doors is,
the crazy thing.
Yes. That's what the whole charade is about. You know, they're very chameleon-like, and they're charlatans. The other thing is that, you know, they will start small arguments over nothing. That's just to find a way to create dominance and power in the relationship. And you did the right thing. You fought back. You know, like, no, that's your boundary. But a lot of people, you know, if he's able to trauma bond someone, then he's convincing them that they're the reason that he's upset. So now you're dealing with guilt and shame and embarrassment, like, oh my God, what did I do to make this amazing man angry?
Woof.
When we meet someone, a couple of things happen. So there's the halo effect and there's the horn effect. Like if you meet someone and you dislike them right away, psychologically you create a cognitive bias. So your brain will cancel out any of the good in that person. But the other thing, there's also the halo effect. So, and narcissists use this. I don't think they realize that this is what happens, but it's what happens. So the halo effect, someone comes on strong, puts you on a pedestal, starts future faking, you know, mirroring all of your goals and all of your dreams, you know, making you feel like a queen, like making you feel like finally someone sees me, right? There's going to be a balanced relationship. And what happens is below the veil of consciousness, you create a cognitive positive bias. So now when he starts acting up, you'll have an internal conflict. Like, no, he can't be that. He can't be a jerk. It must be me.
Exactly.
So it's so interesting. So I think like conversations like this are very important, primarily to teach people to be aware of the way that they think. To be a little bit more objective about what's happening to us below the veil of consciousness.
Yeah, I like to add to that. Like it's very, narcissistic abuse is very insidious. A lot of it happens behind closed doors. And Maxine, from what you were describing, all of that stuff is exactly what I went through as well too. It was only a short period of time before. And one of the reasons why I'm also speaking out today is because, you know, I'm a male victim and I was also married to a male partner. And it was only months after our relationship began where, you know, the same thing happened, you know, where my now ex-partner was like, well, you know, hey, you want to get married? It was like, there was no type of proposal, no getting down on one knee, none of that. It was more so like over the phone, well, hey, you want to get married? You know, and in the back of my mind, I was just like, should I be doing this? I mean, that big question of doubt was there. And then there was already triangulation in place because I believed that he was doing his best to try to make one of his exes jealous. Yes. You know, he was in communication with so many of his exes. They stay in contact with their exes at all times, not only for control, but also to, you know, cause triangulation as well too. But the trauma bond between me and him was built early on as well too, because I felt like, I could not give up on him when things got really bad. I mean, he was also early on, the signs of alcoholism was there. And then I found out that he was a full-blown alcoholic, also had a porn addiction. They have addictions. Often, a lot of times, narcissists do have those addictions as well. And so they play out throughout the relationship and they continue to get worse. The love bombing happened almost immediately. I mean, he was very persistent in his pursuit of me. I've never met someone like you before. You're my soulmate. You're the person I want to be with. You're the person I want to love for the rest of my life. You've changed me. You are so amazing. I felt like I was on cloud 9 when I met, this guy. I mean, well, months later after we got deeper into our relationship and he started trying to hide some of his issues, mainly the alcoholism. He tried his best to do that, but that just stuck around throughout the duration of our relationship and eventually into our marriage, and things continued to get worse. And as time went on, then eventually there became the devaluing, where, okay, now I'm getting cursed out. Now you're calling me names. Now you're comparing me to your exes. Oh, well, so-and-so would have never done this, but you're doing this, you're doing that. He would even call me by one of his ex's names. He would confuse me with the other one, but I realized, hindsight is 20/20, he was actually doing it on purpose because he wanted to get a response out of me. And they live for those responses, good or bad. They live for them. And Maxine, I see you shaking your head because they don't vary from the script.
Too, that you're like, this is a playbook. Same thing happened to you as well, huh?
Oh yeah. He fast forward. Brandon, could you mute real quick? Fast forward, after he saw that, certain things wasn't getting the response that he wanted, because I consider myself a strong person. I'm not just going to let you just walk all over me, and we didn't start off like that. So don't end it like that. So he would do things like the devaluing, my cousin said that they don't like you because they think you're a whore. What? Like, dude, I can count on like less than 5 fingers how many guys have been, with me, period. So where are they getting this from? And he would, do things like pit me against other people, pit me against his family. Well, my mama said that all you do is shit on her. What? I haven't talked to your mama since the wedding. Where is she getting this from? So I'm the type, I'm gonna go to your mama. Mama, what am I doing? She wouldn't answer the phone, because I'm pretty sure he told her some things that, supposedly I said to put me against her, or it was, well, your mama don't like me. Well, what did she do to not like you? My mama's fine with you, Well, your friends don't like me. What? This, like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? So, when he saw that he wasn't getting the response that he wanted, then of course, like Brandon, he started calling me by his ex's name. And at first I thought, he was, just slipped. But then I had to look at him like, I know you didn't.
Well, Lisa, tell us a little bit about that. Is this I should say, the path that they take in these relationships of going from one to another? Because it seemed like they have the same path that they went through with their relationships.
It's so interesting. Like, once you know what you're dealing with, they can be pretty predictable. And if you talk to other victims of narcissistic abuse, you'll see that everyone's shaking their head like, yep, they did that to me too. And it doesn't matter if it's a female or a male narcissist. They pretty much have the same type of behaviors. But it's very interesting to realize, once you understand what a narcissist is after, a narcissist plays in the emotional realm. So anything to get you upset emotionally. They forget to pick you up when they say they're going to pick you up, right? They say they're going to stay home and watch the kids so that you can go out and, get a manicure. They don't show up to watch the kids. It's to get a rise out of you. So narcissistic supply, some people think it's just positive. No, narcissistic supply could be you falling apart. Could be you feeling awful and being devastated that they betrayed you and let you down.
Okay, Brandon, I see your hand is raised.
I'm glad that Lisa's bringing that up because, and I wanted to make sure that this is my grandmother's picture behind me that you're seeing here. That was one of the worst times when I was in our marriage, when my grandmother passed away this time 1 year ago. This is the 1 year anniversary of my grandmother's death. And I got the phone call from my mother. It was totally unexpected. I got the phone call from my mother at like 5 o'clock in the morning that, okay, you got to come home. Your grandmother is not doing well. She's no longer breathing. Totally unexpected. And I literally ran from the room in our house, like in tears, and I was balled up on our bathroom floor in a fetal position. And so he just comes and he stands over me and he's just like, well, get up, you know, because he talked to my mother. He grabbed the phone and he talked to my mother and he was like, well, what's going on? What's going on? And so my mom explained to him what was going on, and my mother pleaded with him. And mind you, my family did not believe that he was the best for me. They saw through him. So, you know, she told him, my mom said, please don't let my son, and mind you, my ex is 14 years older than me. So I'm in my 30s, he's in his 50s. She told him, do not let my son get on this road and drive from Atlanta by himself. And so he came and he stood over me in that bathroom and he said, listen, I want you to go back to Columbia. I want you to show everybody just how strong you are, just how you're going to make it through this and how you are. I mean, just go. I will bring our clothes. I'm going to pack our bags. I'm going to come home and I'm going to be there for you as soon as I get off work. Mind you, any other time you want to get drunk and don't want to go to work. But for whatever reason, the one time when your spouse needs you the most, you decide that you're going to go to work. And so I later found out that, well, first of all, he did not show up that Friday night when my grandmother passed away. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. He finally shows up in the 11th hour on Monday, a day before the funeral. And I found out months later, the entire time, he was cheating on me in our house the entire time. And I'm here and my grandmother is gone. The one most important person to me, gone. And he could not even think of me enough, could not think of me enough to be here when he needed to be. That is how manipulative these individuals are. They will leave you high and dry.
That is one of the things that I read, right? That they don't want to be there for you. They need you.
No.
They need you.
No, they don't, you know, think about Dracula. It sounds silly, but think about Dracula. Dracula can't live without a body. He's got to suck blood out of a body. You know, Dracula doesn't do anything for you. Dracula just takes. So you're a host. And so there's something to be gained from you. So, and that is in their head. That's the relationship. You know, no. You're there for me. I'm not there. No. You have a need? Well, I'm going to exploit that need. Oh, your grandmother died? You're not going to be home. Wow. I can drink. I can get laid. I can do all sorts of stuff behind your back because you're going to be devastated. It's to their advantage. That's the way they think. It's very calculating. It's very cunning. And when you're the victim and you recognize that you were exploited to that level and you have cared for this person and made excuses for this person, it is absolutely mind-boggling to wrap your mind around it and to like get back in touch with real reality, because they've distorted reality, because you love someone who's incapable of loving you back, but yet but you've loved them and you've created a life with them. Like, what does this mean? So it's very traumatic psychologically, and it takes a while to like pull the pieces of the puzzle back together again for you to understand the true narrative of narcissism.
Maxine, did you have a devastating breakdown period where you lost everything, that you felt like you couldn't function, that it sort of threw you into a mood swing?
Yes, and mine happened, this was, and I'm try to hold it together. So Mother's Day, right? Mother's Day weekend, he says, well, I have to go to Virginia to help my nephew sell a car. Okay. I didn't say anything. I said, okay, that's okay, whatever, you know, go do your thing. I remember that he told me that his nephew was leasing his car. So how are you going to go sell a leased car? But I didn't say anything. Gone that whole weekend. And it was kind of crappy of him because that was his son's last track meet for the year. If anybody know a Gyra that was at Westwood High School, yeah, that was his son. He missed his son's last track meet for, before he graduated. Pretty much missed Mother's Day, and then all of a sudden he walks in with 2 dozen of roses. Oh, I'm so sorry. It went over. Whatever. Okay, I just kind of tucked it in. That was like the beginning of me kind of like, okay, something ain't right. I'm not gonna say nothing, but something ain't right, because old me probably would have went off, but I didn't. So fast forward, he goes TDY on his job. They sent him somewhere, and I go to get on the computer to do some real estate stuff. And next thing I know, the email pops up. And I'm like, I don't remember leaving my email open. So I'm looking, I'm like, wait a minute, this don't look like mine. This is his crap. All the hotel receipts, all the online dating, all the emails back and forth. Come to find out that weekend that he was supposedly going to help his nephew sell a car, he drove to Tennessee to go meet some scallywag up there, for Mother's Day. That was when the whole ceiling fell on me. Here it is. Things aren't quite going the way they were before we got married. And I'm getting this feeling, that woman's intuition that something ain't right. I can't quite put my finger on it, but now it must have been meant for me to see this, because, when I tell y'all, it felt like a ton of bricks just fell on me. A ton of bricks fell on me, So that was the beginning of the end. Well, another beginning to the end, and it was horrible. I stopped having sex with him. I'm like, no. You go get checked, because I don't know what you've been doing, and we're not doing that. Yep, we're not doing that. But
out of both of you, Brandon and Maxine, what was the breaking point that you knew that you had to leave? What happened during that time? If you could be short with it, what happened that you decided to leave?
The breaking point for me was I was scrolling through Facebook one day, and somebody put a meme up, and it said, if your partner is doing X, Y, and Z, you may be dealing with a narcissist. And I said, well, damn, that sounds like the stuff that I've been going through, and I've been trying to wrap my head around. So I looked it up, and I'm telling you guys, the more I research narcissistic people, disorders, everything that I read told me to run. And that's what I did.
It's amazing. That's the power of a meme.
Yep. I didn't even know it was a thing. Like I had never really heard of it, and I never knew it was a thing.
That's why I think it's so important to talk about it. Years ago, men and women were putting up with this crap, but no one had a name on it. No one knew what it was. And so it's important that we talk about this and put a label on it. And that's how my life fell into place when I went into therapy, and my therapist said, you're not crazy, but you're codependent. And I was like, what? But my partner doesn't drink and I don't drink. It doesn't matter. Then I started investigating codependency, and it's like, yeah, that fits me. I am severely codependent.
Wow.
And that's my career was born out of it, and then that led into, oh my gosh, like narcissists are very much attracted to codependents. And the thing is, with a codependent doesn't leave. A codependent has a very difficult time setting a boundary. They tolerate the abuse. They're usually highly empathic, and they rationalize the alcoholism. They think, oh, he's mean because he's an alcoholic. Or, oh, he's got a sex addiction. Maybe he should go into SLAA. He should go into Sex Anonymous. If we go into therapy, then it'll be fixed. Like we rationalize that if we change, or if we can get them to change, it will change. But unfortunately, research has proven that narcissists don't change. They don't have the capacity to change. They go into therapy and they think they're smarter than the therapist. They look to love bomb the therapist. They will antagonize the therapist, and they quit. And they're just completely resistant to therapy, because the narcissist is working through a false self. And so they only want to have people in their life that mirror that false self back to them. And so if you start like kicking back, like pushing back, the narcissist begins to devalue you, because now you've become a threat. They have a narcissistic injury, you've become a threat. You're going to start attacking them. You literally become a threat, and then they can go into a narcissistic rage. So it really does depend on what type of a narcissist you're dealing with. If you've got a narcissist that can be physically violent, I do not suggest poking the bear. I suggest getting copies of everything. Make sure, absolutely, be very strategic. Write everything down. Nod your head. Appease them until your exit strategy is in place, and then you make sure your finances are separate. You make sure people know what's going on. Get yourself a good therapist, a good support system. Talk to an attorney. Don't even tell them you're talking to an attorney. Secure a place to live. Save some money. You know, you don't want to poke a violent narcissist. That's for sure.
And that's one of the things that I kept reading about as well on your YouTube as I was watching some of the things you were talking about, Lisa. And Brandon and Maxine, did your relationships ever go violent? You went, because I saw that once you realize it and you start fighting back, the violence will start. Did it?
What happened to me? I want to definitely to our viewers and listeners talk about the fact of reactive abuse. That's the term that we have given for that. You start reacting, you know, to the abuse that the narcissist is putting you through. When I knew that it was time to leave, you know, I unfortunately, it was during COVID and I could not leave when my now former spouse was still there. As I started trying to pack my things to leave, he started doing everything he could to prevent me from leaving, destroying boxes, turning off lights in the house at the breaker box, busting in the rooms when I was in there. And then, you know, he actually, when I closed the room and shut him out, I closed the door and I was trying my best to just, you know, there was a picture that fell off the wall overhead. And so I leaned down to pick it up. And next thing I know, the door is bursting and hitting me in my face. And so at that point, I was like, okay, you now put your hands on me. And so I responded by slapping him back several times. And so he decided, oh, well, I'm gonna call the police. You know, you're going to jail. I'm like, okay, well, I've got it. I'm going to get through to them first. So I did and called them. And I already knew because I had gone through a host of other stuff. We had already been in the court twice for 2 false TPOs that he filed against me in Gwinnett County, Georgia. And he was trying to spin everything against me to make me look like the abuser and for him to look like the victim. And so luckily, because he might be a narcissist and he is smart in some degrees, he's not that smart because people saw through it. The judge in the first time he went to court, the judge saw through it. I still wasn't strong enough. I still ended up going back. And it wasn't even probably a month and a half later before I finally left for good, because I was like, if I don't get out of this, something bad is going to happen where I'm going to react in a way where he is going to try to put me in jail. And I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm not going to allow my character to be tarnished. I'm not going to allow myself to stoop to his level. So when I did call the police, I was smart about it. I told them I wanted to make a report. I had a cut on my inner lip. I had them take pictures of it. But here's the one thing that I think a lot of times law enforcement doesn't understand when it comes to victims, especially victims of narcissistic abuse, is the fact that just because the physical scars, there may not be a lot of physical scars that are there, it doesn't mean that they're not going through that abuse. I told the officers I wanted to press charges against him. They talked me out of it only because I did not have visible outward injuries. I had a visible cut on my inner lip, but when they took pictures of me, all you saw was obviously just me with a t-shirt and some shorts on, but I also had them take a picture of my lip as well. Now, as we're getting ready to deal with this whole court thing, he filed another false TPO, said that I was stalking him. I had mental issues, all of these lies that he concocted. He did not take into account, I'm talking about my ex, he didn't take into account that there was a police report that was there and all that information was detailed in there, that I was the one who wanted to press charges against him. And that those photos were also there too, because when the altercation happened, he was outside of the house. I was in the house talking to the officers. So he had no clue that all those things were being said or done. So when it came time for the court hearing, he didn't even show up for court.
Yep. Yeah. I think it's really important also that we understand that we really do have to make emotional abuse a crime. And narcissistic abuse should be a crime. In the UK, it is a crime. You know, emotional abuse of a child is a crime. Emotional neglect is a crime. You know, learning to understand. And you know what? It's proven. Research proves that emotional torture, mental torture, psychological abuse causes the same response internally as physical abuse.
Wow. Yes, it does. And I know that for a fact, being in law enforcement, and sometimes law enforcement not taking it serious because you don't have the physical bruises on you. And that's a huge mistake. Maxine, what were some of the things that your relationship turned abusive?
When all of the cheating and stuff came out and the lying and all that stuff came out, and I didn't respond the way that he wanted me to, as in, I forgive you, let's, you know, keep on going, let's try, and all this, you know, I was not having it. You know, I couldn't, I had to believe what my eyes was telling me, you know. So it seemed like the more he tried to control my reaction to him, the more aggressive that he got towards me. And I remember the first time that we got into it, I didn't even think that it was going to happen, you know, because even while we were dating, you know, we talked about physical abuse. We talked about everything, you know, and I told him, you might not want to try me, you know, because I'm not going to do that. So I'm laying in the bed. And he's upset, you know, we're bickering about something. And next thing you know, it was a small argument and it escalated. And next thing I know, he snatched me out of the bed, throwing me on the floor, you know, just pounding me on the floor. And I remember I was trying to get up. And I remember standing up. And he tried to come at me again, but I moved and he went into the wall. So when he went into the wall, I turned around and I punched him about 3, 4, 5 times in his face. And I told him, I said, I told you, don't try me like that. Do not try me like that. So, and the look on his face, it was like he was stunned. You know, like he didn't believe that I would fight him back. Yeah, I'm gonna fight you because you're not about to do that to me, you know? So fast forward, you know, we had talked about it and everything. Fast forward, and here it is. My mind is just like all over the place. Like, okay, what do I do now? You know, do I call the police? I mean, like, what do I do? It happened again. And then the third time it happened, because this is me trying to leave, you know, I'm thinking like, this is I brought this house. And that's another thing that narcissists do, is they will take credit for the things that you do. Yes. I brought this house, and he was telling people, told the neighbors across the street, he brought this house for me cash. Really, dude? You was a GS7 working on Fort Jackson. You cannot afford this house, so stop it. You know. So anyway, you know, I was in the mindset of maybe I just need to pack myself and leave my own damn house. You know, that's where I guess he saw me going towards. So the last time we ended up getting into it, he was upset. This was early in the morning. He was upset about something. And I'm just laying in the bed like this, like, okay, what you gonna do? Ain't you late for work? You know, because at this point, I'm just so over it. So next thing I know, he snatches me again out the bed, you know, and this time it was just all out fist fighting. We all out fist fighting. And I remember being on the bed, and he came down and put all his weight on me. And when he did that, I bit him in his face. So he comes up. When he comes up, I'm about to throw his ass across the room. And when he saw that I was getting ready to do that, that is when he picked me up by my collar. He picked me up by my collar, and he dragged me over the bed, over the footboard, over the little thing that goes at the end of the bed, and we ended up on the floor. And actually, I ended up on a suitcase because we had just came back from somewhere. And this man took his forearm and put it on my neck, and he said, "Apologize."
Oh no!
I said, "For what?" He said, "I'm not gonna let you up until you apologize." And I'm thinking, like, what am I, like, it wasn't registered. So the more I wouldn't do it, the tighter he got around my neck. I just felt myself just started to go limp. And I was like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm telling y'all that, I mean, all of this happened within like maybe 3 months.
Yep.
You know, from the time that the stuff hit the fan to the time that that incident happened. And I knew, I mean, I already knew I had to make a plan to get out, because like I said, when I researched narcissism and realized that there's different kinds and malignant, which is what this guy was, I'm trying to formulate a plan, you know, and you guys have to understand that when people say, well, why didn't she leave?
Yep.
Well, realize some people have kids, they done knocked you up with a baby, they done married you, they done moved in with you, they done got some property with you, they done did something to tie you to them. And people that have kids, you know, and stair steps and little babies, you know, a 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, they cannot just leave like that.
Yeah.
And I was in a financial, I was financially able to leave this man, and I was prepared to leave my own house, you know, and it still took me about 4 months to devise a plan to actually leave the, you know, to get this man up out of here. And I went to Richland County, and guess what they told me? Oh, Miss Scott, you waited too late. Oh, wow, really? I have pictures of my bruises, you know, and I have all this other evidence, and they tried to talk me out of pressing charges. You know, this man had tried to choke me to damn death, and y'all don't want to do nothing about it. So,
Well,
yeah,
you're having a PTSD response, you know, the rocking, the crying and everything. You're very, very much being taken back into the past, and your body is recalling what that felt like, which is very natural, you know, and it's really important to validate that, because you were terrified, and rightfully so. And I think it's important that, you know, it's very easy for people to judge from the outside when they haven't been in the grips of a narcissist. It's very easy for someone to judge someone who's inside a relationship such as this when they haven't been inside the dynamic, when they haven't been idealized, when they haven't been love bombed, when they haven't been put on a pedestal, when they haven't been lied to over and over and over and over and over. And they listen to you in the early stages. They make you feel seen and understood, like no one has ever made you feel seen. So there's a bond there. And all of a sudden, this person that you've let into your heart, let into your home, it's dragging you out of bed. It doesn't make psychological sense. That is the trauma. Like, what is happening? You cannot, your logical mind cannot make sense of the fear and the terror that you experience. So you did a wonderful job. Both of you have done a wonderful job, you know, explaining at how manipulative and calculating and how they can draw you in and the games that they play. It's important that I think what people take away is this idea that a narcissist wants to dominate you. They want something from you. They want your house, you know, they want your money. They want your car. They want you there so they can play out this dominance game. And just say you're sorry. He knows you did nothing wrong. But he knows that he's stronger than you.
Yes.
So he knows that he's able to ultimately, if he has to, right? If he has to, if he feels like he's left with no other choice, a malignant narcissist will resort to violence to dominate you. And I'm really sorry that both of you have went through such physical abuse. It's unacceptable, but it's wonderful. It is really wonderful and healing to like share your story, because it matters. And a lot of people don't want to my clients, I could be coaching someone 6 months before they tell me that they were physically abused. They're embarrassed. And you shouldn't, that's not your shame. No one should ever put their hands on you. And talking about it is really helping other people be okay with talking about it too. So that's very courageous of both of you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I like to add to that too, is that what victims need to understand as they're going into survivorhood and eventually thriving is that staying silent gives your abuser power. It keeps your abuser in power. By you telling your story, by you being upfront about and honest about the things that happen to you to help someone else, you're taking that power away from your abuser. I did share with the group one of the articles, because I'm now a self-published author, about my own testimony and some of the things that I went through, you know, dealing with my former spouse. And one of the main things that I want to point out is the fact that, you know, when you are talking about these things, they want to, I've hosted forums as well too, and they'll threaten you. They'll come, I mean, mine threatened to sue me over saying, oh, if you say anything about me, I'm going to take you to court. I'm going to sue you for slander and defamation. I'm like, okay, good luck trying that, because what you're going to have to do is get into court and explain to everyone the truth about what happened during our marriage and the ways that you abused me. So please go ahead and do that if you like to. And not only that, but, you know, your understanding, you know, being that I'm a journalist, your understanding of the law. I think a lot of times they'll try to take things and make it appear as if they know more than the victims. You know, I knew that by me standing up and telling my story, as long as I'm not using his name, there's nothing that he can do. I mean, obviously people are seeing my face. They can put two and two together. You can look up information to see who I was married to, male partner. So, I mean, it's out there. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to hide behind some cloak and veil or any smoke and mirrors anymore. You know, as a survivor, my goal and my duty is to help others who have been through some of the same things that I've been through, because it's almost like you're on drugs. And when I finally got out of this situation, after that trauma bond, after I finally worked through that, I felt like layers of toxicity just lifted off of me, where, you know, I was no longer being lied to. I was no longer being cheated on. I was no longer being manipulated, cursed out. I mean, people don't understand how serious this condition is. And one of the commenters did say something in there, the fact that it is a mental illness, and it is. It's on the DSM-5, you know, that narcissistic personality disorder is one of those mental illnesses. And once I started researching that, I'm like, oh my gosh, all of those signs and symptoms were there, and I didn't see it because I didn't know. And so many people don't. And that's the main thing about it. And there's so many different categories of narcissism. My ex was a covert, malignant, and somatic narcissist. You know, somatic, a lot of these narcissists, they will woo you in with sex. They try to use sex to pull you in, but really and truly, they don't even know how to be intimate. They fake it to draw you in, to make it appear as if they're intimate or that there's some sex god, but really and truly, they're not. It's all about them. They only want to satisfy themselves. And that's where, you know, as I was talking earlier about the porn addiction, where some of those things come in. So there's a lot that we can sit back and dissect when it comes to narcissistic personality disorder all day. It's so much. But the one thing I know that, you know, me and Maxine can relate to, and also you as well, Lisa, is that we came away with a PhD in narcissism at this point, you know, because you learn so much about it, and it's like, oh my gosh, just ask me any question and I know, you know.
It's the same here. I didn't know as much about it at all, but as I started doing more, and of course, me being a law enforcement officer for years, I never knew that part of it. All I knew is that there was an abuser and there was a victim. And that was my case and what I needed to do in order to help them both. So Lisa, I would like to give you the last words. I know that you have to go and we've been in and out on the video, but what would you like to say to the people that are watching?
I would like to say that recovery is possible. You know, one of the things that I walked away with after my marriage was a sense of self. I was involved with someone and I really didn't have a strong sense of self. And so going through what I believe was a covert narcissist, going through that type of relationship, very passive aggressive. And a lot of the signs showed up when I said, I'm done. I mean, that's when it just completely exploded. But what I ended up walking away with was like, for so long, I tried to get his approval. For so long, I tried to please him. For so long, I tried to appease him. And it was all because I really didn't have a strong sense of self in my case. You know, when he love bombed me, or when he said, I see you and I see the value in you, that's where I suddenly had an identity. Wow, I felt seen. And it was when, that's what the hook was. You see me? Okay, here I am because you see me. And then when he started to devalue me, that's when my sense of self plummeted. And the only thing that I thought I could do was to keep seeking approval from him to hopefully get that hit back again. It became an addiction. Ultimately, having the relationship fall apart and seeing how it was affecting my 3 children, it taught me to really honor myself, to walk away from everything that I knew and to completely rebuild my life. from the inside out, relying on myself, you know, believing in a creator, at least I do, you know, connecting to a higher self, and believing that within me was the power to transform my life. But you have to work at this. You can't watch a couple of YouTube videos and read a book and think that this is it. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
You have to change on the inside. You literally have to put the work in. The program that I created has 13 meditations to help rewire the brain to go from an abusive brain, like in a brain that's been abused, to an empowered brain. Journaling prompts to really dig into deep, like what were the conflicts within myself that allowed me to ignore the drinking or the pornography or the emails. You know, I have clients who know their husbands are cheating or know their wives are cheating, and they don't confront them. You know, so what is the conflict within self that makes it difficult for you to say, I'm done? So, but the reality is, I mean, you know, Maxine and Brandon are proof, you know, and myself are proof that you can survive this, but you can never give up. And you have to know what narcissism is. And if you're suffering with codependency, investigate those symptoms as well. So, you know, you started earlier, and when you opened up the chat, you said that we have to know the type of person that we're dealing with. We also have to know our personality.
Yep.
What do we fall for? What are we craving? What are we needing? Because I'm telling you right now, a narcissist is going to become exactly what they think you need. So the less you need from the outside, the better. The more you supply yourself, the better. Just know that recovery is possible.
Yeah, one thing I can say about that is we didn't even get into the stalking part. I mean, that's a whole nother chapter on its own. I mean, good Lord. But one thing I can say about what Lisa said too is that once I found out what narcissism was, and trust me, I did a lot. Like Brandon said, we have a PhD in this kind of stuff, you know, after you dealt with, you know, one or two, in my case, 3 of them. But, you know, and I know all this stuff. And like she said, I had this last relationship. Huh?
You're coming in distorted. Can everybody hear that?
Yep.
But one thing that this last relationship taught me, like Lisa said, I had to look within myself to find out what is it about me that keep allowing these types of people in my life, you know, and I had to do a lot of meditating, a lot of praying, you know, a lot of research, a lot of self, you know, inner work to know those red flags, know why I allowed them, you know, in my life, you know, why I didn't see them for what they were, because, you know, I try to look for the good in everybody, but the good is not always good when you got all of this list of crap, you know, that they're doing. They're manipulative, you know, they're abusive, they turn people against you, you know, they lie for no good reason, they cheat, some of them steal, you know, it's just a whole spectrum of these types of people. And, you know, it's important for our little girls, our guys too, but our little girls definitely to know the signs of them.
Yep. Very well said. Very well said.
Hello, everyone. We are having some technical difficulties that we were not able to get everybody back in just yet. So we would just like to take this time to say thank you to Maxine Scott, and Brandon Wilson, and of course Lisa Romano for her excellent advice and her patience with everything that was going on. We will have links in the bottom. You can make contact with Lisa if you feel you need to talk with her. So we thank you again for joining our broadcast, and we apologize for the technical difficulties, but next time we'll work it out. Thank you so much for joining us, and have a great night.